We're going to take the national anthem. Good afternoon, everyone on this call. So as we start, we'll take the national anthem. If you could all please rise, if it's safe for you to do so. Just the first stanza. The President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gopil, FCIPM, FNLI. The Vice President, Mrs. Justina Chidi, OPAJC, FCIPM. The National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbuonu, FCIPM. The immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNLI. Elected council members present on this call. Distinguished fellows of the Institute, governing council members. Our guest speaker for today, Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo, FCIPM. Our panelists, Mrs. Ifoma Adeniyi, FCIPM. Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM. Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM. Dr. Mrs. Edna Akagbusum, MCIPM. Members of the Institute. Non-members of the Institute are about to join us shortly, because you would be joining us, definitely. Staff members at the headquarters and at the various zones where the Institute is represented. Our members in the diaspora, our branches in the diaspora, UK, Canada, USA. I say a very big good afternoon to you and welcome to CIPM's International Women's Day webinar. The theme for today is breaking barriers, building legacies, women taking bold steps in leadership. At this point, I would ask that we all please rise again as we take the Institute's code of conduct. And you'd recite after me. And when you get to I, you insert your name and your membership grade. If you're not yet a member of the Institute, I would ask that you please desist from taking the code of conduct with us. Although if you do so, we're watching, we're ready. As we see your mic move, we shall be sending our application form to you so you can join us. Thank you. Can we all rise, please? And the code of conduct is displayed on the screen. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
The apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
Is committed to the highest possible standards.
Highest possible standards.
Of professional conduct. And competency among its members. Therefore, as a member of the Institute,
as a member of the Institute,
FCIPM, pledge that I shall at all times out my duties and responsibilities with integrity and diligence.
With integrity and diligence.
Demonstrate competence and ethical behavior.
Demonstrate competence and ethical
In
behavior
all my business,
in all my business,
professional, and
professional,
personal activities.
and personal activities.
Respect the laws of the land.
Respect the laws of the land.
Promote,
Promote,
encourage, and in place acceptable processes
encourage, and in place acceptable processes
and procedures in the practice of human resource management
and procedures in the practice of human resource
within
management
my sphere of influence.
within my sphere of
Endeavor to make
influence.
personal decisions
Endeavor to make personal decisions
after considering all options,
after considering all options,
of which resignation may be one,
which resignation may be one,
in defense of this code of conduct.
in defense of this code of conduct.
Where there are conflicts
Where there are conflicts
between my professional obligations,
within my professional obligation
the expectations of my job roles.
and the expectations of my job role.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Amen. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is actually very exciting for us at CIPM and at the Institute. We're very proud of the Women Breaking Barriers, Building Legacies. And I sit, because I'm not standing, I sit boldly as a woman in leadership. And I know we've had to do quite a lot, demonstrate our competence, our skills and knowledge to get to where we are. And we're also blessed that even within the leadership itself, my dear president is surrounded by 3 beautiful, wonderful women. And so you can imagine what our meetings would be like. Is in the midst of 3 powerful women. I recognize again the vice president, Mrs. Chidi Obiejesi, FCIPM, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbonu, FCIPM. Let's keep breaking the barriers. Don't make president's life difficult. I think I'm one of you as well. But we know that women, they do have a voice. And when women are determined, they do achieve. So I say welcome once again to our IWD webinar. We're going to be having lots of fun today. It's going to be an interactive session. And we look forward to, like I said, maybe breaking the legs of the table and the table itself as we take ourselves through the session. So welcome everyone, sit tight. The plane is about to take off. So I hope you have your seatbelts on. At this point, I'd like to welcome warmly the only man amongst us, the leadership, the president and chairman of the governing council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gabriel, FCIPM, FNLI, to give his welcome remarks. You're welcome to this beautiful Women's Day webinar, sir. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. And I thank God for the life of the immediate past president who keeps me company as the other man in the leadership team. But for him, I would have been swarmed, of course, by the women around me. Very wonderful women they are. Very, very wonderful women. They all are very good reasons for us to be thankful to be working at least with women. Not only are they breaking barriers, they are also leading the institute, of course, to break glass ceilings. So it's really a pleasure at least to be serving with very wonderful women, like the vice president, like the national treasurer, and like the registrar and chief executive. On that note, let me quickly begin by recognizing some of our very esteemed colleagues who are here with us. Everyone who is on the call is very important, whether members of the Institute or joiners who are interested in what we are doing. The Vice President, Mrs. Justina Chidima Obiejesi, FCIPM, our National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbuonu, FCIPM, the Registrar and Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, our immediate past President, Mr. Olusegun Majid, FCIPM, FNLI, distinguished elected council members on the call, governing council members, fellows of our respected institute. Our distinguished guest speaker, Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo, FCIPM, the Chief HR Officer for Lotus Bank, our esteemed panelists. Let me start with Mrs. Ifoma Adeniyi, FCIPM, former National Treasurer of the CIPM, Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM, Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM, and our very own moderator, Dr. Edna Ngozi Akagusu, MCIPM. Distinguished members of the Institute, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. It is indeed an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to this year's International Women's Day webinar. Today we celebrate all women, but we especially celebrate women who shatter the ceilings, those who rewrite the rules, and those who are building legacies that will last for generations. Let me take a moment to review last year's theme, which was creating a culture of diversity and inclusion. At that webinar, we didn't just discuss the theme. We made what we spoke about to happen. At the CIPM, we embedded diversity, equity, and inclusion into our workforce and operational structures. And guess what? Our commitment didn't go unnoticed. As a result of CIPM's leadership in DEI, we were invited by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities to stand among organizations at the forefront of this movement, where our efforts were recognized and commended. This year, we are raising the bar even higher, breaking barriers, building legacies. Women taking bold steps in leadership is not just a theme. It is a challenge. It is a call to rise above limitations, to lead unapologetically, and to pave the way for future generations. Now, let me talk some facts here. Are we all aware that women hold just 10% of Fortune 500 CEO roles? Do we know that globally, only 25% of senior leadership positions are occupied by women? And yet, studies prove that diverse leadership teams often outperform homogeneous ones in profitability, in growth, and in development. So why does the climb still feel like trekking from Lagos to Abuja with no fuel and a flat tire for our women? This is because barriers, both seen and unseen, still persist in the corporate world and in all workplaces, in policies, in perception, and even in biases. How many times have we seen confident women being called or labeled too aggressive, while men in the same position are called assertive? How many times have we seen talented women being advised to tone it down, while their main counterparts are encouraged to own the room? It is time to flip the script, because as Shirley Chisholm once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. At CIPM, we are not just here to tick the box on leadership conversations. We are here to influence policies. We're here to change corporate cultures, and we're here to drive HR strategies that elevate women to their rightful place in leadership. And as HR professionals, we are the architects of workplaces where talent, not gender, determines success. At CIPM, we are currently parading a leadership that has 3 women: the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Justina Obiejesi, the National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbono, FCIPM, and the Registrar and Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, all of whom have reached the highest grade of the CIPM by dint of hard work. Now, before I wrap up, let me extend our deepest gratitude to our phenomenal guest speaker, Mrs. Oyinka Banjo, FCIPM, who, despite a packed schedule, said yes to joining us at short notice to inspire and equip us all. To our brilliant panelists, Mrs. Ifoma Adeniyi, FCIPM, Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM, and Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM, we say thank you for your wisdom, your experiences, and the actionable insights you will share here today. To our dynamic moderator, Dr. Mrs. Edna Ngozi Akagusum, MCIPM, we appreciate you for agreeing to steer this conversation. We know too well that you will do it with purpose and brilliance. And to all of you who are listening, this is not just another webinar. This in itself is a movement. Let's take the insights from today and cascade them into our respective workplaces, into our policies and our leadership practices. Because breaking barriers is not just about individual success. It is about opening doors so wide that no woman has to knock the door twice. So let's do this. Break those barriers, build those legacies together, and let us take those bold steps. The future is for all of us to shape together. Thank you all, and I welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you.
Wow, a round of applause for the President and Chairman of the Governing Council. Come on, give it up on your emoticons, please, or emojis. Let's applause our President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobril, FCIPM FNLI. At this point, I'll now hand over to the moderator, Dr. Mrs. Edna Ngozi Akabusum, MCIPM. Welcome once again to CIPM. You were inducted in December 2024, so you're helping us break the barriers then. Welcome, madam, and we look forward to a very interesting session with you and your colleagues. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you so much, our Registrar C. You've been such an encouragement to all of us here. Thank you for pulling me in. And thank you, our dearest President, for your support and everything at all times, at very short notices, and your encouragement, even of the women. Thank you very much, sir. Now, my name is Dr. Mrs. Edna Ngozi Akabusum, MCIPM. Just inducted in December, but it is working. Of a truth, women are breaking barriers. Women are building legacies. Women are taking bold steps in leadership. Now, we are not complaining about what the women can do because we know what they can do and they are already doing it. We're talking about breaking glass ceilings. Yes, women are breaking glass ceilings. Unfortunately, statistics is not in our favor. The president has said here that about 25% of senior leadership roles are held just by women. So what has happened to the rest 75% is held by the other gender. Be that as it may, the World Economic Forum says that women hold only 29, still infinitesimal to what is existing, to what we are looking out for. In Nigeria, the figure is even smaller. It is said that women hold a smaller percentage of leadership positions, with estimates suggesting around 23%. This is very minimal of senior leadership positions. Now we are here gathered. How do we change this narrative? As women, are we going to continue like this? And we say no. By His grace, I am introducing today those who will help us, tell us how to break these barriers. They are already breaking barriers, and so they're going to tell us how we're going to break these barriers. We are going to build legacies, and we are going to help women take bold steps in leadership. I want to also let us understand that the objective of the CIPM conference and exhibition with the theme Breaking Barriers, Building Legacies, Women Taking Bold Steps in Leadership is likely to empower and inspire women in leadership roles. This event aims to highlight the challenges that women face in leadership positions, promote discussions on overcoming these obstacles, and celebrate the contributions of women leaders across various industries. It also seeks to foster networking opportunities, provide knowledge sharing platforms, and encourage the development of strategies that enable women to take bold steps in their professional journeys while building lasting legacies for future generations. I have the singular opportunity of introducing a rare gem of a woman as our guest speaker today. Madam, I do not take you for granted, and I say it's a rare opportunity to have you. In spite of your very busy schedule, you have made time for us to come. Thank you. And so I introduce the guest speaker who is taking us through this journey today in the person of Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo, FCIPM. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo is the Chief Human Resources Officer of Lotus Bank. She is a highly motivated team player with a deep passion for impacting social and family values. She holds a first degree in accounting from the University of Lagos and an executive MBA from Manchester Business School, United Kingdom. Mrs. Banjo also serves on the board of trustees for Manchester Business School's Alumni Association. Yinka has acquired knowledge in various fields. She is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, and a fellow of the Institute of Strategic Management Nigeria, FSM. She has certifications in other fields such as furniture designs and entrepreneurship. Owing to her contributions to the human capital development sector, she got an Excellence Award and was rated in the top 6% of Nigerian top executives in human resources industry. 2015 publication and rating. This is definitely not a mean feat. Yes, please, we can welcome her. Thank you so much. Madam Oyeyinka, FCIPM, is a member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria's Capacity Building and Certification Committee. She is the Director of Africa Operations at 1 Million Teachers, 1MT, a Canadian-based social enterprise seeking the improvement of education and the motivation of teachers in sub-Saharan Africa. She is also a non-executive director at Hadassah Women Empowerment Initiative, AWEI, where she contributes financial and non-financial resources to the economic empowerment of women in micro and small trading in the southwestern Nigeria. Oyeyinka works every day to see a better society where people interrelate with happiness, with empathy, and with mutual respect. It is with a rounding ovation and a support from all of us on this call that we welcome to speak to us Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo, XCIPM. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you. I had to be sure that you were speaking about me. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. To our president, Malam Hamed Ladan Gobir, FCIPM, FNLI, the tireless man who keeps forging ahead to see what more we can do. I say thank you for having me here this afternoon. To our registrar and CEO of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, I call her the Chief Marketing Officer because I'm not sure that she's just a registrar. As far as she's concerned, everybody should be a member of CIPM. Madam Toyin Naiwo, thank you so very much for all the people you have pulled into CIPM, including myself many years ago. You know, I entered the building and I was speaking with the front desk person, and she just, you know, she just frisked out of her office, and she was like, "Oh, hi, how are you? How may I help you?" I said, "Don't worry, ladies." She said, "No. She just asked, who are you? What are you doing?" I said, "I came to make inquiries. Please come follow me to my office." And that was the end of it. She ensured that I had a seamless onboarding to CIPM. That was over a decade ago, and I'll remain eternally grateful to her for that. To every member of CIPM, council members, my fellows, I welcome you all this afternoon. Okay, so, and everybody join us online. Thank you so very much for placing value on women. I want to particularly thank every man that is on this call. You are the ones that push us. You are the ones that make us know that we have wings to fly. Thank you so much for putting interest in the affairs of women. Now, I am unapologetically biased about women. Let me announce upfront, I am from a family of all girls. I am the 9th child of 9 children of a single father and mother. I have nothing less than 15 to 18 nieces, and they mean the world to me. So if I am my talking today, you would know that I'm talking from that background, that I know that, all right, let's just move on. Like the president said earlier, women hold only 8.8% CEO positions in Fortune 500 companies. That is abysmally low. Also, in parliamentary seats around the world, women represent only 26% on those seats. That is abysmally low. And I'm talking of globally, not just in Nigeria. And we have a lot of countries who pride themselves in being advanced, advanced human capital index, advanced this and that, advanced gender balance, and we still have only 26%. Senior management positions globally, women occupy only 29%. Women sit on only 29% of those seats. That is totally unacceptable. Now, let me also start early by demystifying that word barriers, breaking barriers. You want to be a trailblazer, you want to be, we seem to have conditioned our minds to thinking that until you emerge in a in a Forbes magazine, or until you receive a global award, or until you are on a global stage or on a national stage, you have not broken a barrier. I am sorry to announce to you that that is not so. For everybody who dares to do a first-time thing, every woman who dares to do a first-time thing that has not been done before in your community, in your family, in your faith-based place of worship, anywhere around you, you have broken a barrier. I was so excited, like 2 years ago, one of my nieces bagged a PhD degree in America. She wrote boldly on social media, "I am the first in my family to have a PhD." I am glad to also say that 2 years after, many of my nephews are enrolled for their PhD, but my niece broke it first. In my family of all girls, despite the fact that my cousins' parents, my aunties and uncles felt that they had to do us that favor of sending their men to our house because it was a house of all girls. My sisters were the first to get university education, first and second degrees. That was breaking a barrier by a woman, my late mother, God bless her soul, who never had more than a primary 6 education herself. So I'm saying this to let you know that you are a barrier breaker for as long as you step out of the norm to do something that nobody has done before. A Ghanaian fishmonger, Essie Bobasa, she created an association to support women in the fishing industry. Just a fishmonger, providing job training and economic opportunities. That woman, Essie, broke a barrier, a major barrier. Sorry, I may oscillate between my slides and some other things that I have written. Sophia Kiani, a 12-year-old Iranian girl who founded Climate Cardinals, a nonprofit that translates climate information into over 100 languages, making climate education more accessible, broke a major barrier. She was just 12 years old. Now, I want us to know that there are so many ways and too many ways to overcome the obstacles that confront women in leadership, and also so many ways that women can rise up against maybe discrimination or the fences that are built around us. Let me give a bit more statistics. This is a statistics of regional representation of women in senior management. In the Eastern Europe, Europe, the big Europe, we have only 35% of women in senior management in all those big companies, Fortune 500 companies. North America, 33%, all the way down to Asia Pacific, where we have 26% of women in senior management. Can you imagine that, of all the women in the world? Because I'm from the banking sector, I would also like to read a few of the statistics that we have there. CEOs of the largest 500 banks in the world have only 6% of women representation. Executive committee roles in the bank, globally, we have only 20% of women occupying those seats. And board positions globally, women occupy only 23% of financial institutions boards. Now, I hope that the women, young, middle-aged, advanced, and all of that, on this call are becoming challenged to know that there is work to be done. And like I like to say, if you want power, it is not handed over. You need to get it. You need to take it over. Now, represented in national parliament around the world, from Rwanda to Nigeria, we have only 4.5% of women representation in Nigeria. Only 7 out of 109 senators. And we already know what's happening with one already. I won't say more than that. I want to arrive in my house in peace. I don't want to sleep at a prison or police station tonight. But sorry, we are not going to take that line low. 14 women out of 360 representatives, members of House of Reps. That is significantly even below the global average of 26% in government in Nigeria. And then globally, we have Rwanda, we have Cuba, we have Nicaragua, we have New Zealand, all the way, Sweden and everywhere. Women, there's work to be done. Now, some women have broken the ranks. They have shattered the glass ceilings. They have packed the glass aside, and they have glided over everything that, was attempting to hold them back. I keep asking myself, if Dr. Funmilayo Ransome Kuti did not drive a car, if she did not attempt to do that thing, what would have happened to women? I'm not sure that we would not have missed that decade of a woman doing something substantial, going out of the norm, letting a man know that now, when we're talking about women breaking barriers, there's no competition here. The Almighty God has stated the roles of men and women. So we're not just being feminist and doing all of those things. No, it is just saying that it is time for women to take their place at the tables as well. The feats that Dr. Funmilayo Ransome Kuti achieved in Nigeria is a long list, but I've just carved out a few here. She was the first woman to drive a car. She led the successful protest against unfair taxation of women. She faced imprisonment and persecution for activism. She founded Abeokuta Women's Union, which a very brilliant mind, Bolanle Austin Peters, carved into a movie recently. I think it's still on Netflix. You can watch it. I'm not making adverts. CIPM, please. She was the mother of Fela Kuti, the advocate for and an advocate for women's education. Everybody knows Fela Kuti. Advanced women's political participation in Nigeria. She was a fierce voice. In more recent times, we have somebody that I call National Treasure, Mrs. Ibukun Awosika. She was the first female chairman of First Bank of Nigeria, the first female to occupy a chairmanship seat. She broke 121-year tradition of male leadership at the bank, the Apex Bank, so to say. No, not CBN, Commercial Bank, because CBN is the Apex Bank. She's focused on excellence, integrity, and innovation. And with pride, I say that we had the honor of having her speak to Lotus Women last week, Saturday, the exact International Women's Day. She's power packed. She founded furniture manufacturing company at the age of 25. A lot of us were still groping at that age. She faced gender bias and skepticism about leadership abilities, and she paved way for other women in banking leadership. Let me pause here to say that every time a woman breaks or shatters a glass ceiling, you have opened the door for many more women to come in, and posterity will always remember you. History will always be kind to you. Let me briefly talk about female banking leaders in Nigeria. I am proud to say that the chairman of Lotus Bank is female, Mrs. Ajara Diola, and the MD of Lotus Bank is also female. And my MD, Mrs. Kafilat Araoye, happens to be the first female to occupy the MD seat of a non-interest bank in Nigeria. That is breaking a barrier. Thank you. Women are coming up more aggressively in the Nigerian banking landscape. Miriam Olusoya, as the MD of Guarantee Trust Bank. I have some males supporting me here. I'm happy. Mrs. Yemisi Edun, Managing Director, FCMB, Ireti Samuel Ogbu, City Bank of Nigeria, Nneka Onyeli Ikpe, Fidelity Bank, Halima Buba, SunTrust Bank, Tomi Shomefun, Unity Bank, and Bukola Smith, FSDH Merchant Bank. All are CEOs of leading banks in Nigeria, and we are extremely proud of them. In West Africa, we also have Mansa Nete, first woman to lead Standard Chartered Bank, Ghana, Ifeanyi Osime, former chair of Union Bank, and former CEO of Standard Chartered, Mrs. Bola Adeshola. That's just to give you a brief statistics. I won't go over all the slides one by one so that I can save time and we can go to some nitty-gritty details and how we can become that woman who can break a barrier. So we also have some statistics for current female heads of state and government globally. CIPM can share my slides afterwards. Let me bring it quickly home to Africa. The first elected female head of state in Africa was Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I do not want to start recounting the opposition that she faced. She broke a major barrier, and a lot of women are now aspiring to become president of countries in Africa. She was the first to be recognized for her work in peace and women's rights in Liberia. She also overcame exile, imprisonment, and she had civil war to lead. She was nicknamed the Iron Lady for her determination, known for her strong leadership style. Like the president said earlier, when a woman is firm, they say she's aggressive, she's wicked, and all of that. Our dear own national treasure also, Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, whom we have given to the world, the former World Trade Organization Director General, first woman and first African to serve at WTO. She's well known for anti-corruption stance. She faced threats and family kidnapping due to anti-corruption stance. She was finance minister and served twice on that desk. She also led significant economic reforms and secured debt relief. We are all aware of this. I have some other statistics that I would want to glide over. Now, obstacles faced by women leaders. Let me quickly go there. I said earlier that if you think power will be handed over to you just because you're a woman or because you're educated or because you have, forget about it. You will have to wrestle it out. You will have to fight for it. You will have to earn it, so to say. It's like a woman, you think because you're beautiful, you're this and that, so your husband must always respect you. No, it is not about the face anymore. It's about what you have in your head, your determination, your resilience, and several other things. So that when the rains are falling in your family, you are there for your husband. And it is not as if he has to come for you to buy a bottle of Coke for your friends. Those days are gone and they are not coming back. They are gone forever. They are not coming back, even if we have to pray and fast about it. Now, do you think that these things, do you think that these things are easy for women to achieve? No, they are not. They face gender biases. A lot of women suffer depression and emotional trauma by the labels that they got, just by attempting to follow their dreams and follow their passion and becoming who God has created them to be. And all of us have this talent. inside of us just break out and do what you're supposed to do. And like I said earlier, you do not have to be an Ngozi Okojo-Iweala to be a barrier breaker. Sarah Fela Durotoye made makeup and beauty industry, made it an industry in Nigeria. She didn't have a mentor. It was those days where our eyebrows were, we just use one tiny thing like that. Whether it's pencil or we don't know. It's just one line like that. And every woman used to have that. She didn't have a mentor. She didn't have it. It was just a passion. She started exploring it. And we can see the big industry of beauty and makeup in Nigeria right now. We can see we can see the amount of money that industry is grossing. Yes, the first woman to own a TV channel in Nigeria is Mosumola Abudu. She is not Okonjo-Iweala, neither is she Ipokon Awoshika, but she's a barrier breaker in her own right. So that's what we are saying. There's a particular lady, yes, and a former HR practitioner. Yes, we say that with pride. There's a lady that whenever she brings out a movie, usually towards the end of the year, everybody is expecting that the billions will be raked in. Everybody, we know her. Funke Akindele. She's a career breaker. She's a barrier breaker, sorry. But she is not the president of Sweden, neither is she the president of Finland. I'm just saying all this so that you know that you can break barriers even right from within your little sphere. If I use my humble self as an example, it could almost be totally impossible for you to have left banking as many years ago as I left it. A colleague of mine she had mouth agape today when I told her when last I left banking before I went back there again last year. She said, how are you coping? I said, because I never left my passion, which was HR. Not transferring me to HR department made me leave banking like 20 years ago. And I went to follow that outside, making myself relevant and building my passion. I was headhunted back into that same department 2 decades after. There is no limit to what you can achieve if you set your mind to it. Now, it is important that we quickly touch on how you can be that barrier breaker in your sphere, in your community, in your mosque, in your church, in your family, and all of that. One thing that women still need to continue to work on is our support networks. Mentorship and sponsorships. It is okay. I think it's even easier now. We are having more mentors, but what about sponsors? Your sponsor is that person that speaks for you at that table where decisions are supposed to be made. The person that takes up your fight and ensure that that thing that takes your career or your business to that next level, you have it. We need to be more committed to doing that for ourselves. You see, men get these things right too. Men get these things right. They fight fiercely for themselves. They call it the brotherhood. It is not a cult. It is just a love cycle where a man wants to see another man win. Women, we need to ensure that we do that. We need to be the cycle for ourselves. Leaders build communities where younger people can come in and be mentored. They don't even need to solicit for it. When you see a talent, identify a talent, pick that talent and begin to brush them up. We need to consistently give ourselves up for learning. Advanced education, get an additional skill, get a master's, get a second degree, get a diploma, do a certificate, do a course, just anything. Continue to build yourself because opportunities will always come. But the regret comes when opportunity does not meet preparation. Opportunities will come. As long as the sun will rise every day, opportunities will come. But what are you preparing? How are you preparing to ensure that your opportunity comes and you are ready for it? Now, women must also lead with empathy. If you want to be a barrier breaker, you want to be that go-to person in your sphere, in your sector, in your industry, please lead with empathy. Let people be able to come to you. Let people understand yourself, understand people, and be able to bring out the best in them. You must be resilient and you must have huge perseverance capacity. The world is not made for people who always have to, murmur, complain, you have to walk on eggshells around people. No. Build your resilience. There will always be obstacles. Community will fight back. The planet, the universe will fight back at what you are trying to achieve. But you must be focused. You must know that no matter how hard it is, the sun will always shine the other day. So don't give up on your dreams. You need to be an advocate. all of us in our spheres, we need to advocate for systems change. If you are in the Senate, you're in the House of Reps, you are in an institute such as CIPM, you are in the bank, you are in any sector at all, please conduct yourself in such a way that the other people, the male gender, do not think, oh, if only she was not female. Conduct yourself in such a way that they're like, we need to allow more female here. Open the door. Don't shut the door after you, either by your character, whether consciously or subconsciously. You need to do that. Now, going further, currently, we need to have organizational approaches that would help women who are desirous of attaining leadership, shattering the glass ceilings and breaking barriers. We need to have that as an organization. We need to have approaches that we would employ, we would subscribe to, that would help us. Now, women should have representation in workplaces across all the levels, and we should create family-friendly workplaces. The bank where I worked in my former life, we used to have a crèche, and where I currently work, we have a crèche as well. So that it is easy for a woman, for a career woman, to come, drop your baby, go to work, and then come back. A woman would not be so consumed with her career or her political aspirations as to forget family. That is our God-given assignment. But the system can help us to mold a platform, a template where we continue to excel, even juggling many hats and wearing many hats. We also need education for girls. It is sad that in Nigeria, as we speak, I'm a strong advocate of education. In Nigeria, as we speak, especially in some regions that I would not mention here, women, girls are still grossly undereducated. And, you know, we have an emir who is a strong advocate for girl child education. And there was a day we were in his chambers and we were talking. And it was like, what he's now focusing on is not just girl child education. It is the male now. Because at the end of the day, one woman can only have a baby once in a year. But one man can impregnate 20 girls. So what is that doing? You are taking 20 girls out of school, act perpetrated by just one man. So we need to push and advocate and sponsor the girl child education, especially for science, technology, you know, engineering and mathematics, and the arts. The arts are a big grosser of billions for the GDP of the country. We need the support of men. Like I said earlier, we are not feminists that will say, okay, what a man can do, a man can. Yes, what a man can do, a woman can do better too. But we are better off when we work together. When a woman's dreams and aspirations are aligned to that of her partner, her boyfriend, her spouse, her friend, you see that they thrive better. It is not that you are back home at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 7 p.m., as the case may be, and you find your husband sitting in the sitting room like this, waiting for you. By the time a man does that 3 days in a week, you are defeated. You'll be confused at work. And what does that begin to do? It begins to limit your ability to rise to the height of your potentials. I hope everybody is, I hope I'm communicating. I hope, you know, I'm hitting the points. Now, I want to say strongly here that women need to prioritize their health in their quest for leadership, in their quest for ambition, career, and all of that. Whether you have had a child or not, every child, every girl child from age 11, 12, 13 and above who start a menstrual cycle, you do not have your life back the way it used to be. You're already shedding blood just by nature. And as you grow older, your iron deficiency and a lot of other things will begin to show up. Now, if you're in leadership position, it even makes it worse. You have both physical and psychological traumas, pains, and things that you need to deal with. So please prioritize your health in your quest for leadership, and that ability to break barriers and shatter glass ceilings. A strong body is a big support for a strong mind. Please pay attention to your health, feed well, Don't focus on junks and all of that. You can binge sometimes. We all do, but please focus on eating well. And also, please have a focus. You want to be that lady that is at the top in the boardroom? Focus, please. I have a son, he's always saying focus, focus. Sometimes I call him Mr. Focus. Don't be distracted. There's a lot of distraction. A lot of things will come to distract you. Social media. You are seeing one girl driving Lamborghini that you cannot account for where she got the money from. You are seeing this one parading a house in VGC, in Banana Island and all of that. You won't call those ones barrier breakers. Oh, you won't call them leaders. You focus on the things that will make you grow into leadership organically. Focus on building. Focus on the granular things that takes you there. A brick on a brick. You know, a focus on a focus, a certificate on a diploma on a BSc, and you'll find yourself getting there, surrounding yourself with other women who are able to provide support. And at leadership level is already, women, please let us have an open door policy. We need more women to come up with us. Don't be the type, like I said earlier, that will shut the door after you have passed through the door. Somebody left the door open for you anyway. So we need to, there's something that is often said in the banking sector, that more women repay their loans than men. You know, when you give a woman a loan, even if the woman is just a petty trader, there's a higher propensity that the woman will repay the loan as an when due than a man. That is a plus that women need to explore. I'm using this to challenge institutions that they come up with more women-friendly initiatives. Banks come up with more friendly financial support for women. Telecoms companies, you know, anything, government. Sometimes I don't like to talk about government with due respect. I like to focus more on what I can control. And that's also my chat to women today. Focus within your circle of control, your circle of influence. You are not responsible for something you cannot control anyway. So, but within what you can control, ensure that you forge ahead every day. Ensure that you create that atmosphere that will bring you out. A barrier breaking woman is an intelligent woman. She's not wasting her time on social media, like I said earlier. She's not wasting her time. She is the story that is put on social media. She's the story that people are reading about on social media. Yes, spend some time on your social media, decongest your head, whatever it is you want to do. But sincerely speaking, be that news maker. Be the person that channels is flashing. Be the person that all the TV stations are flashing. Don't waste your time. Be focused. Do things that would increase your intelligence. Aside intelligence, intelligence is zero without character. Please, it is important that women are approachable. It is important that women have a wealth of character that endears them. A barrier-breaking woman, a leading woman is such that has, there's a mien around you. You are humble, you are approachable. You don't suffer fools, you are firm, but then you don't wear that hat of, hey, it's coming. Female version of Hitler is coming. You need to make yourself approachable. Be the type that people want to, relate with. They want to share their dreams and their aspirations with. A barrier breaking woman, a leading woman, somebody who is on her way to that global stage, national stage, family stage, community stage, respect one factor that God has given to everybody equally, and that is time. One of the ways personally that anybody can get me totally angry in my life is to waste my time. I dislike it. It is gross disrespect. And I believe that any woman that is worth their salt and is going somewhere to happen must respect time. Even if it is a social party, I get there before the party starts. I am sorry, I'm unapologetic about it, because I will leave when I want to leave anyway. So if a party started at 6, if I get there at 5 o'clock, I start counting my 1 hour. If the organizer of the party now decides to start at 8 o'clock, they may just be starting as I'll be leaving. I've already expended the time that I wanted to spend there. I'm not saying it's a habit, I'm not teaching it as a doctrine, but I'm saying respect time, value time. Because for a woman, I think the time flies quicker. By the time you settle down, you're in a relationship, that takes your time, then you're married, and then the children. I had to focus on family. I left my career, focus on family. Thank God that I have a supportive husband who did not let me lose sight. And even while in entrepreneurship, I had an active office. I would wake up every day and go to work. I would close, I have staff, you know. So be that, be conscious of your time, have self-control, be disciplined. You must be able to say no to those things that strain you. We have a lot of things that strain us as women. We have a lot of societal expectations, the things that society is not giving back to us anyway. So you must be able to say no to anything. My mentor, Hussein Udo, he taught me, I remember then years back, he would say, what is the sexiest, as in quote and unquote, thing that you could say in your life? And I was like, oh, love, yeah, thank you, please. He was just looking at me in our classroom. He said, no. I said, so what does it tell me? He just wrote on the flip chart, no. I was like, how does this one become one of the best words you can use? But trust me, over a decade down the line, I will remain eternally grateful to him. I learned how to say no. Saying no is something that is difficult for women because their expectations. Your husband expects this of you. Your in-laws expect this of you. The community expects this of you. Your children expect this of you. Please carve your own time. Say no if it is not necessary. You don't need to go to every party. The time you want to go for party, do an online course. There are a lot of free courses you can do online. And you can have a course, you can study something. You can research on practically everything, even how to sell akara. Research on how to sell your akara and be the #1 akara seller in your community or in your space. So, a career-breaking woman, let me conclude by saying, would be called names. Yes, you will be called names. But please focus. I said it earlier, focus. The end will always give you the applause that you deserve. Focus. When you are building something, don't be distracted. Please focus. Ignore the naysayers, ignore the names, ignore those that have put a leadership around a certain gender. It is not supposed to be. So please understand where you are going and face where you are going squarely. The journey of women in leadership illustrates remarkable progress alongside persistent challenges. Talking about a woman like Dr. Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, the Bukwawoshikas, Vidis, and all of them who have broken significant barriers. The statistics, particularly in Nigeria, demonstrate that substantial work is still remaining to be done. We have a long way to go. I want to particularly see more women in movie production. I suddenly took a liking to watching movies in my spare time. I want to see more women novelists. I love to read African writers a lot and Nigerian writers, the days of pacesetters and all of that, So I want to see more women doing that. I want to see more women as CEO of banks, more women in the senior management position of banks. The numbers are still very few. You can have senior management of the bank, maybe like 12 people, and you have only 2 or 3 women there. What are the other seats doing? Women are mothers, women are nurturers. We will nurture anything, grow anything. Let me give you a few takeaways if you have a pen or you are listening rapidly enough to listen or to take a note. While we know that women's representation in leadership remains disproportionately low compared to their capabilities and population percentage, I want to encourage women not to give up. When you give up, you have created a grave and you have cemented it. That's what happens when you give up. No matter how many obstacles you encounter, please keep forging ahead. The contrast between countries like Rwanda, 61.3% parliamentary representation, and women just 4.5%, like in Nigeria, highlights how policy interventions can accelerate progress. I am giving this as a charge to the few women, to the 4.5% representation of women in Nigeria's leadership. They should please advocate for more women. They should sponsor women. They should mentor women. I expect that by now, a female in Nigeria, and please watch out for me, we're coming there, would have a thorough leadership academy for women. Just women, leadership academy, where you learn how to do strategies, policies across different sectors of business and also for government. It is becoming that time when we have to do it. While the banking sector shows significant progress and promises, we still have a long way to go. So women, high-flying women in banking, please begin to see yourself at that number one seat, wherever your MD sits in your office, whether the 18th floor, the 10th floor, the 4th floor, begin to envision yourself there and begin to learn how you will get there and pay the price to get there. We have obstacles, but they are not insurmountable. Let me recap by saying the path forward to attain leadership for women will be intentional mentorship and sponsorship. Please, leading women, existing leaders anywhere. Even if you are just a step ahead of your colleague as a woman in the same office, manufacturing, banking, telecoms, oil and gas, please be interested in that person that is coming. Adopt that person and begin to mention their names around where it matters. Let's continue to push for organizational policies, national policies that would ensure that women attain leadership. Educational initiatives that encourage girl-child leadership development from early ages. We need to start it now. We need to support teacher advocacy, because when you support teacher advocacy, the end result is the children, the students. And this time we're talking about the girl child. We still have a long way to go in girl child education in Nigeria. Challenging cultural norms and stereotypes that limit women's advancement. You know, there was a time that growing up, there was a particular Christian denomination where a woman couldn't be a medical doctor because they said the woman would see the nakedness of another man. You couldn't, you know, it's those things. I mean, thank God those things are behind us now, but we need to continue to push. There are still barriers. There are still things that, you know, we think that a woman cannot do. And I'm waiting eagerly for the day that a woman will become the Senate President of Nigeria, the leader of the House of Rep, and of course, the Vice President and the President of Nigeria. It is possible. It is doable. We need partnership with our men to help us. We are aligning with you, our men. Sponsor us, help us to get there. Also, finally, women celebrate one another. Those days of envies, jealousy, and all of that, please, let's junk them. Let's throw them right out of the door. They don't belong with us anymore. Let's celebrate each milestone. I have a group of friends who've been friends from university. We call ourselves the famous five. If one person as much as gets a bonus today, we are hitting a restaurant. We are all going to celebrate. Not to now talk of a promotion. Celebrate little milestones. In my family, from a large family, everything is celebrated. Everything. You got promoted. Oh, especially when you're a child, when you're a female. So please, women, let's ensure that we continue to take those bold steps in leadership. Let's continue to mentor. Let's continue to speak up for one another, sponsor, adopt another woman, adopt a girl, adopt a lady. And let's continue to speak up whenever we can for women at every opportunity and in every group that we belong to. Thank you very much, ladies and the gentlemen who loved us enough to join us. Thank you, CIPM.
Thank you very much. A very wonderful speaker. I think this is a great job done. We have learned so much takeaway. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Man, this is fantastic, ma'am. This is fantastic. Thank you for a well-researched paper and a very well-presented paper. Not just only researched, but very well presented. I have finished writing the jotter I brought. I am almost done with it. I've taken notes, more than 10 pages. So I'll just try to do a summary of some of the things I'm taking away from this session. Ma'am, thank you. In breaking barriers, we have said there is no limit to what you can achieve as women. If you set your mind to it, you only need to set your mind to doing it, and you can achieve it. She said, for every woman who has risen to a pinnacle of her career, you have broken a barrier. Sometimes you are looking at breaking barriers as you must do something out of the moon. She said, no. In your own little cocoon, once you have done what nobody has done, yeah, you have broken a barrier. So whatever your hand finds doing that is good, please keep doing it and do it well. And she says, for as long as you step out of the norm, you are a barrier breaker. Eh? Do what people have not done in your career, but it must be something positive for you to be able to break the barrier. And then she says, if you need power, you need to take power. Power is not given. Nobody gives you power. You take power. We are talking about breaking barriers. We are talking about building legacies. Women taking bold steps in leadership. You cannot take except you exert yourself. Nobody will give you. If they give you, that means you have not taken. In a dash, they dash you. It's jara. You have to stand up to it and take power. Yeah. I watched a video when she said something about Mrs. Ibuku Awoshika. That was very interesting. I watched one of her videos, Mrs. Awoshika, as she said when she showed up as the chairman of First Bank, it was at the 122nd year of First Bank that a woman showed up, and that's her. 122nd years. So the 100 up to 100 years, 120, there was no woman. That means we are not forthcoming. We need to do something. We need to wake up. We need to buckle up. We do not have problem with the men. We have problem with ourselves. We need to push a little more. We need to break the barriers. Eh? No more glass ceilings. The ceiling is broken. The ceiling is shattered. And nobody gives you power. You take it. She also said that women suffer biases. And some suffer depression because of the tags of them. But these are people who have ears that want to listen to what they say. Any woman who has ever aspired, if you look behind, they say, oh, she's friend to this person. Woman, know thyself. For as long as you know you are doing the right thing in the positive direction, will they talk? Yes, they will talk. But you are moving in the right direction, you will achieve. And she says, unlike the men, women do not support women. This is bad. We'll keep talking about this over and over again. We need to build a circle for ourselves. We need to support women to come up. Unfortunately, when things happen, you see women supporting men instead because they do not want even their fellow women to come up. We are seeing it already. She says something about the house, about the house, and she doesn't want to sleep in the cell. Like, I don't want to sleep in the cell. Now we're talking about women supporting women. Who is supporting who at this time? Even those women who are supporting do not want their voices to be heard because they don't want to stake out their necks. This is not too good. And she said women should conduct themselves well. Forget you are beautiful, it's God that made you. That is not your skill. You have not done anything. God gave you beauty. So fight, do what you can by yourself. Develop your skills. Okay? Enhance yourself. Show and hone your skills and keep the door open. There is no closed door anymore. There is no barrier against us. And then we need advocacy for the girl child. We need advocacy for the women. Women should stand up for themselves. Okay? Now, there are also, when she was talking, a few thoughts were coming into my mind. We found out that in Nigeria, women have tried, but we need to do it more. And then we find out that even the first VC of University of Lagos, the first VC of Unilag, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, is a female. Then after her, what happened? The first female VC of Unilag. After her, what happened? We have 11 female CEOs in the banking industry in Nigeria as it is today. So the women are coming, but still not good enough. The statistics are few. Yeah. And so we have like Zenith Bank Group MD, we have Madam Adore Emoji, OAN. We also have Access Group CEO, Madam Balaji Agbede, who happens to be MCIPM as well. And she rose from HR to become that. We have Mrs. Yes, and that's wonderful. We also have Mrs. Florence Alakeja being the first female chancellor of a public university in Nigeria. Yeah, so women are coming up, but we need to do more. We have Madam Hadiza Balarabe, who happens to be the first woman deputy governor in the north. So if we can have deputy governors from the north as females, we can equally have governors from the north as females. So what are we talking about? Even in the public service, we have women rising to high positions. We've had in recent times heads of service that are females. The current head of service, who is also a member of CIPM, a full-fledged member of CIPM, Madam Esther Didi Wilson Jack, happens to be the 5th female head of service of the Federation. And so women are coming up, and the females are being well represented, but we need to push a lot. We need to do a lot more. We are getting access, but we need to do a lot more. Thank you, able speaker, for a well-researched paper, a well-presented paper. I know, yes, please let's give her a round of applause. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I know we have too many questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A section. We'll pick it up as we go along. Well, we have panelists waiting to discuss the paper presented. I need to introduce the members of the panel so that we'll take this paper and then we'll run with it. I have our first panelist as Mrs. Ifoma Adeni, FCIPM, NITAD, FCGPN, FCLG US, FILCS. Mrs. Ifoma Adeni is a seasoned human resources management and legal practitioner with over 25 years of experience in HR and more than 15 years in legal practice across key sectors of the Nigerian economy. As a strategic HR generalist, she has a strong passion for people management, capacity building, and organizational development. A highly respected professional, Mrs. Adeni is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, the Nigeria Institute of Training and Development, NITAD, the Association of Corporate Governance of Nigeria, ACGPN, and the Chartered Institute of Leadership and Governance, USA. She's also a member governing council of CIPM for over 6 years. She played leadership roles in CIPM, contributing to various strategic committees. She was chairman, ethics and code of conduct committee, NITAD. She's council member, Institute of Leadership, Coaching and Strategy, ILCS. With a wealth of experience and dedication to professional excellence, Mrs. Adeni, FCIPM, continues to shape the HR and legal landscapes, driving ethical leadership, compliance, and strategic people management across industries. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first panelist, Mrs. Adeni, FCIPM.
Thank you very much. It's
Thank you, ma'am.
my pleasure being here today.
You're welcome, ma'am. We are very glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another panelist, a second panelist, Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM. Mrs. Bukola Thomas is an accomplished human resource professional who has been providing strategic human resource guidance to national and international organizations over the course of the last 2 decades. She's a well-rounded advisor to business leaders up to board level in all aspects of people management. Bukola has worked across varying sectors: financial services, telecommunications, marine logistics, engineering, manufacturing, oil and gas, working in group roles across multi-industry subsidiaries. She is a dynamic facilitator in areas such as talent management, leadership development, and the people side of sustainability. Bukola is an advocate for leading through kindness through her BTB Kind initiative and remains ever so passionate about developing and enabling people experience to boost individuals as well as business progression. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together as we welcome Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM, as our second panel. Hi, ma'am, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here.
We're happy to have you. And then we have the third panelist as Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM. Experienced and accomplished human resources manager with 11 years of work experience. She demonstrated leadership in overseeing human resources operations, implementing efficient systems, and ensuring compliance with labor laws. She has expertise in talent acquisition and recruitment, optimizing the hiring process. She's recognized as a relationship manager with a unique understanding of individual strengths, employing them to achieve goals and objectives, even with limited resources and tight deadlines. She's committed to delivering exceptional results in the fast-paced field of human resources operation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM, as our third panelist.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you also. You're welcome. Okay, please, people on the call, distinguished ladies and gentlemen on the call, if you have any questions, please type in the Q&A section. So we'll take all the questions from the speaker, and if any from the panelists, we'll take all the questions as we go along. So, ma'am, Mrs. Ifoma Adeni, FCIPM. The speaker spoke on women breaking barriers. And we say women hold only 10% of Fortune 500 CEO roles, or in some cases, they even report 5%. And just about 25% of senior leadership positions globally. Ma'am, from your experience, what are the biggest barriers still holding women back from leadership today? And how do we dismantle these barriers? How do we shatter the ceiling and dismantle the barriers? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I want to commend the presenter for her speech. She had a very comprehensive paper, which she has presented, and she gave us statistics of the quota that the women folk occupy in leadership. Even in our nation, she told us how that we have about 109 legislators, and out of which only 4 are women. We have a long way to go. And the question you have just asked is very powerful and important, and one that resonates deeply with the conversation around gender equality in leadership. While we can say we have made a little progress, there's still a lot of barriers that women are facing in attaining leadership roles and maintaining it, particularly in high-level positions like the CEO's positions roles. From my perspective, there are big barriers. The biggest of them is in gender unconscious bias, where women are often judged based on stereotypes that label them either to be too soft or, as she said, too aggressive when they make their voices heard. These biases can result in women being overlooked for leadership positions or their leadership styles being critiqued more harshly than their male counterparts. Usually, if a woman is to be considered for a position, in their stereotyping way, people wonder, would she be able to hold this position? Would she be able to succeed in it? And to be able to dismantle this, which for me is a very big barrier, we can approach education, continue to learn, unlearn and relearn, create awareness about unconscious bias, especially in hiring, promotion, performance evaluation, bias training and employees for the employees and the leaders can help reduce the impact of such stereotypes and give the woman a chance to be able to prove that they are able to do equally as well or even more than the male counterparts. Again, we can also think about challenging the status quo, challenging what we have seen, what we have inherited, that the women are the weaker vessel. We can challenge it and advocate for change. You know, we could encourage leaders to challenge the gender biases when they arise, you know, whether it is in team meetings or in recruitment or promotions. It is very crucial that women are not penalized for their leadership style, but celebrated. We have our ways, you know, of doing things. And through the soft way that the women approach issues, they are able to overcome more than men. Women are even more painstaking and they pay more attention to details. And so the bias, if we tackle the gender bias, it would assist a great deal. When you consider a position, you look at the ability of the woman. Is she qualified? Is she able? Does she have the competence, the skills? And you give her a chance. Again, another important barrier that we recognize is lack of mentorship or sponsorship. The speaker spoke about it in a great way. And she said a key factor holding women back from leadership position is the absence of mentorship and sponsorship. She said, well, in some places, mentors are being created and they are doing well, you know, grooming the women folks. But are we sponsoring them? And she mentioned that it's not just only in money, not financial alone, but advocate for the woman, advocate for the competent individual that you have found, whether she is female or male, standing for her, even when she's not there. Speak for her where it matters. Advocate for the woman, and to be able to dismantle this, we want to introduce formal mentorship programs. Companies should create these programs, sponsorship programs, encouraging senior leaders, whether male or female, to sponsor women for key projects and leadership roles. That will help a great deal to ensure that we are able to hold our place in society as women. The bias has so much created a lot of gap between the men folks and the women folks, not just in the offices, but even at home. You find that the parents are more inclined towards allowing the male child to push forward. They encourage the male child to move forward and take advantages of opportunities that come, while they relegate the female child in the background, and in fact, limit her movement to the kitchen, you know, telling her she has to prepare for marriage and all that. Both sexes can prepare for marriage, whether you are a female gender or a male gender. The woman folks should not be limited in any way. So I believe that the biggest barriers that I have just mentioned, the lack of mentorship, the lack of sponsorship, and the unconscious gender bias and stereotyping are the most barriers that we have that limit women from getting to the leadership position that they so desire. And we are poised to dismantle this through constant education, through constant awareness creation, you know, in people. Because sometimes when we say it's unconscious bias, we just are biased towards them without knowing that we are biased. But when we create awareness and giving stances of where we are limited, it helps a great deal to ensure that these are limited and these are dismantled completely.
Okay, ma. Thank you very, very much
My
for
pleasure.
such an insight. We've listened, we've had so much. Thank you, ma. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, and then we talked about advocacy for the women. Okay, advocacy for the women. Now, ma, based on what you have said, for HR professionals that are committed to gender equity, what do you think is one powerful step that they can take today to support more women in leadership? We've already started with advocacy, ma'am.
Yes. For the HR practitioners, the major step that I think we should do is create access to networks. Give opportunities to women to join networks that will help them project their talents and their abilities. You know, I've mentioned mentorship before, and I want to say it again because in mentoring the younger folks coming, we ensure that we are able to leave legacies. You climb up to the top level of your career, don't remove the ladder. The presenter talked about the fact that you enter through a door, you should not shut up the door when you walk in. Somebody opened the door for you. So you should leave the door open. You should help others come in. You should show others the way, how to follow it. You should mentor them daily. Give them counsel. Give them advocate for them. You know, in key projects, in promotion, in opportunities, these relationships that you help them create during, giving them access to network will help them and in a critical way in lifting them navigate their career challenges, build confidences, and create pathway to senior leadership roles. I think if we are able to do this with the women folks as HR practitioners, we'll be able to help them to grow. I'm happy we have chapters in Lagos State, for instance. We have the branch chapters that is able to make people foster closeness, through interaction, through career building, through counseling, through webinars like this, in such close chapters. People are able to know one another and give opportunities to one another and challenge one another onto greater heights. She mentioned the fact that in
Thank you
thinking
very
about.
much, ma'am.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
you. That's fantastic.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are very grateful, and I know everybody has taken in what you have said. Bless you, ma'am. Bless you. But we might be coming back to you for our question and answer session. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM, please. The speaker talked about building legacy. Truth is that many women rise to leadership positions, but they struggle to build lasting legacies. What do you think are the key steps for women leaders to ensure they leave a lasting impact beyond their tenure?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Moderator, and I'll stand on existing protocols. Building a lasting legacy is actually a crucial part of leadership, and because it boosts your commitment to the role that you are in, but it also creates a platform for you to actually give back. And such is so important that we make and take deliberate steps, that not just how we build ourselves as leaders, but actually looking at ourselves and how we're also creating platforms where not only do we bring people on board, but we actually keep that pipeline open and going. I'd like to introduce myself as Bukola Thomas, an advocate for leading through kindness. I've come to know now that that's a legacy that I'm actually leaving behind as I journey through not just people management, but also leadership. And other women like me, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's Supreme Court Justice and a women's rights advocate. I'm sure she'll be turning and really very sad with the statistics that the guest speaker had given about the 4 out of 150 women in similar roles. Okay, Oprah Winfrey, we all know she's built a legacy that most women are actually riding on, and she's brought people on her platform to actually start to showcase other women who are doing same. Sarah Blakely. I'm sure a lot of us would like Sarah Blakely because she's the founder of Spanx, and Spanx has been a good help to a lot of women, in this lifetime. These women have actually built lasting legacies that are actually impacting on how a lot of us see leadership, especially as females. So just to go straight to your question, what are the steps that can be taken? The first step is to actually define it. And when you're defining it, most times you find yourself landing on what you are actually very passionate about, which is what happened to me. Once you are passionate about something, you start to research more about it and actually be able to define exactly what parts of that thing you want to build and create platforms for people to build on. Communicate what it is, let people start to know that this is your advocacy or this is the legacy you are trying to leave behind, and then build a structure around it. Have a team, whether it's volunteering, whether it's people that can, people that have done similar things, or people that can help. Build a team around it and put some structure around it. Then you need to ensure that you sustain it. So it's one thing for you to build a legacy, it's another thing for you to die when you leave. So whether it's through your children or it's the structure you've placed, build a team that can actually continue after you leave. Scalable platforms, scalable systems, policies that guide it. You'd be shocked that even though you have something and you've clearly told everybody around about it, the people that you are supporting, you need to know how to actually navigate that vision that you are trying to leave behind. Institutionalize how you research around it, so that you are keeping yourself on the cutting edge. So you're not building a legacy that becomes obsolete after 2 days. So you keep looking at how things are changing around that legacy or that vision that you want to build a legacy around. Establish alliances. Very important that you have people who can help support and promote. I like how we're talking about sponsorships and all of that. So people that can promote that legacy, that vision that you are really trying to drive. And as soon as possible, make sure that you have a full-fledged organization. I have registered my initiative already. I've trademarked it just to ensure that it's something that is at the forefront and it's growing as something that will be a going concern even after I leave. So, and of course, documentation is key. So it's not just about saying, but when you put all the documentation in place and you have all the right infrastructure that you need to build it, then at least you've put the structure that would actually help you navigate further. I will stop here because I know that we are very mindful of time.
Thank you. That's fantastic. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. We are very grateful. Yes. Mrs. Fatima Shehu, CIPM, please. The main speaker spoke on bold leadership moves. Taking bold leadership moves. Now, taking bold steps often means taking tough, sometimes unpopular decisions. Can you share a defining moment when you had to take a bold step in leadership and how it shaped your career? Please, ma'am, let's do this in 2 minutes if possible. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, the presenter, Mrs. Banjo. Your presentation was both inspiring and thought-provoking. Um, yes, the challenge I had then was on the onboarding process. Identify inefficiencies in the new hires experience, delays in paperwork, access to work tools. So I recognize this impact on productivity and engagement. So I introduced a digital onboarding system to streamline the process. There was initial resistance, of course, from some departments who were used to the traditional methods. But instead of backing down, I led the change management initiative by organizing training sessions and addressing concerns through clear communication and stakeholder engagements. And within a few months, the new system reduced onboarding time by 50%. So this solidified my reputation as an innovative and strategic leader, providing my ability to drive change in the face of skepticism. So that was my challenge I had. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you so much for also sharing your challenge with us and making it brief. Fantastic. Yeah, women often face those kind of challenges. Well, so I'm back to you again, Mrs. Bukola Somos, CIPM. MCIPM, please. Now we're looking at male allies and the organizational culture that obtains in most organizations. How important is male allyship in accelerating gender equity? And what specific actions should men in leadership take to create more inclusive workplaces? This question is also important because we have men and women, boys and girls on this call. Thank you, ma'am. Please, in 2 minutes, let's wrap it up.
Okay, thank you so much. Very similar to sponsorship, and sponsorship is across whether male or female. It's very instrumental, when there is allyship, not necessarily just male allyship, but the general allyship across an organization. But in an organization where you already have gender inequality, then it's very important that we find creative ways to, create that level of male allyship that would endure more women to rise, to the level where we are. I must state here though, every woman must develop herself with the right competencies and skills that she cannot be ignored. So it's not just about saying someone to give us a place at the table. It's for us to also end that table. And I truly, truly appreciate Mrs. Oyinka Banjo for how strongly she brought out that point. So for men, one of the things that men can do, where there is definitely gender inequality, amplifying the women's voices. I work in an organization where women are, in fact, it's actually a KPI for the organization for us to have women in leadership, not just women across the organization, but specifically also for women in leadership. And that KPI is something that we've been driving over the years. So men have to enable women to allow their voices to be heard. Remove systemic barriers. Even when we're hiring, there's some hiring, but sometimes when we're hiring into roles, we specifically say a woman has to fill this role to ensure that we have gender balance across the organization. Role modeling behaviors, the male also have to show some form of respect, to the female gender, showing that their voices are being heard, they are listening, and they're also advocates for policies that would, ensure that, like how I said, we have a KPI that actually drives female leadership. So they have to create a conducive environment as well. So when you are in, for instance, when we are planning on having meetings over the weekend, we will stop and say, no, actually, we shouldn't do it on Saturday because most women have this long laundry list of what they are doing over the weekend. So, and of course, we have to address pay inequity. And so, for when we start hiring, it's not a case of, oh, but she's going to go on maternity leave. No, it's about competence, and then of course creating an enabling environment like creches and like Mrs. Banjo mentioned, so that every woman is comfortable to stay in her role as a mother and also stay in her role as a leader. And of course, that also speaks to flexible work arrangements. So people are able to actually work from home. For instance, I'm not in the office today, but I'm working remotely, but I'm able to also have this opportunity to be on this webinar. So those are some of the things in which men can do to actually support this drive for equity.
So much. This is well noted. This is very well noted. Very well spoken. Thank you. Thank you. And okay, one last question to Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM. The speaker said something about policy and structural changes. And so beyond personal efforts, what systemic or policy level changes must be made to truly level the playing field for women in leadership?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. The network was breaking.
Sorry about it. Okay, can you hear us clearly now?
Okay, yes, I can.
Okay, great. Talking about policy and structural change, I'm asking, beyond personal efforts by the individuals, what systemic or policy level changes must be made to truly level the playing field for women in leadership?
Okay, thank you so much. I think the last speaker, Mrs. Thomas, answered part of that question. We should begin to include in our policies levels to be filled by women, so long as they are qualified to fill such levels. When they are qualified, hard work, and they meet the requirements, they should be given the opportunity to fill the level, especially when we have those who are focused and share the organization's visions and mission, those who are confident and able to fulfill the organization's goals. So they should be given the opportunity. This should be included in every organization's policies. That is the only way women can occupy leadership positions. Thank you.
Much, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have many questions in the Q&A. A few of them will be handled by CIPM because people are asking questions that CIPM will answer. The registrar will take some of them. Okay, somebody has a question, and I think this is for the speaker. The question here says, can I still get to the leadership position? I am 39 years and currently trying to get back to work after a career break as a nursing mother. I had 7 years experience in an NGO before my break. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the person who asked that question. Thank you for that question. I won't say much. I am going to speak just about two people. First would be my MD, who resigned after a meritorious banking career and went into consultancy. From consultancy, she was fished out many years after to become the first MD of a non-interest bank in Nigeria. The second person would be myself. I went out of regular paid employment into entrepreneurship, where I ran a consultancy company for many years, and I was headhunted back into paid employment. Actually, I had to leave a country to come back in here. I made those two instances just to let you know that you have no limit. You can do it, sincerely speaking. One thing you have to do while you are still grinding whatever you're doing now in your journey to leadership is that you should face where you are going, because the alignment has to be there. What I was doing as a consultant is just what I am doing now. I was not, if I wanted to be the best akara seller, I would have been doing catering all the years that I was not in paid employment. So you have to find that alignment. Where are you going and where would you like to get to? So my dear at MD, you can do it. Trust me. I have done it. Other people have done it and you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Thank you. Thank you. So this person on the call, even though I don't want to call your name, you know yourself, you know the question you asked. You can do it. And we have said, if you tell yourself you can do it, you can do it. Yeah. So you have to brace up and do it. Fantastic. We've seen people who have done it. She said she had to. So she did it. And so you can do it. Okay, we have one more question and we are good to go. And I would like Mrs. Ifoma Adeni, FCIPM, to please help us in the next 1 minute just to round off this question. The question says, as a 25-year-old woman in an organization mostly dominated by men, both older and young men, how can I build confidence to handle a leadership role and also grow in that role and then earn respect from management, especially when the management team are mostly men? It is still the issue of this
male-dominated environment. Yes. Thank you very much for this question. And I think you are asking this question at the very right time. You are just 25 years, so you have a lot of time to build competence, build skills. These are what you need to hold your place in the midst of a male-dominated environment. I have experience in that in my organization. For a long time, I was the only female member of the board until we appointed a new female director that joined the board. Also, I have served CIPM. When I served as the national treasurer, I was the only female in leadership. And because of the fact that I was focused, if I will use Mrs. Bukola Thomas' advice counsel, I was focused, I knew what I was doing, and it helped me to hold my head in the midst of the male-dominated leadership. And also, I was privileged to serve under 4 presidents of the institutes consecutively in leadership. And most of the time, I was the only female there. So I believe you can do it. All you need to do is what I have said. Please build competence and build skills that are required and be focused. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for all you have said. We have learned, we have heard. Okay, so tidying up, let us get the overall view of all our panelists and the speaker. In 1 minute, please, I want to call up the people. I want to call up the speaker once again to summarize to us what do we need to take away in 1 minute. Mrs. Oyeyinka Banjo of CIPM, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Women, number one, we have registered that the glass ceilings have been shattered. We are gliding over them. You know how you use a roller skater to get to our destination. But with all that you do, women, let us try and embrace logic. Let us be rational rather than unnecessarily emotional in decision making. If you are emotional, please keep it positive. It is well needed at those board tables. It is well needed for the people that you lead and you mentor. Be positive, be focused, and please be very rational rather than only emotional. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Okay, so one last word in 1 minute from Mrs. Bukola Thomas, MCIPM, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For me, I would always start with women, we must lead through kindness. We must open the door as we walk through it, and not just walk through the door, but turn back and actually pull some other women in as you do that. Lead through kindness and also build yourself. Don't feel that you are going to get it just because you're a woman. Build the competence and build it to the level where you cannot be ignored. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be on this panel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And one last word in 1 minute from Mrs. Fatima Shehu, ACIPM, please. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think we are having network issues with her. So at this juncture, I want to hand over to our very amiable registrar, chief executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, please.
Thank you very much, speakers, panelists. And moderator. I'll leave the vote of thanks to the right person to do that. Just a couple of announcements. We have a special HR forum. It's going to come up now, coming up at the Institute. I'm just waiting for the screen to be shared. So we have our 17th special Human Resource Forum coming up on Thursday, 19th of June, 2025. And the theme is the role of HR in cybersecurity and compliance, protecting employee and organizational data. The fee is 30,000 for our members and 35,000 for non-members. It's a virtual program. And you can imagine, we've been doing quite a lot of these webinars for free. So if you want to keep me in employment and the rest of my team members, I think it's not too much for me to appeal to you to register for this 17th Special Human Resource Forum. And I tell you, you would not be disappointed. We also have a flagship event, and I'm sure all our members, you're aware of this, 57th International Conference and Exhibition. And the theme is reimagining the new world of work. Reimagining the new world of work. It's in Abuja. Would confirm the exact details of the venue to you, but the registration portal is open. And so please go on there and start registering. We promise you 4 days of fun, learning, interactive session. Alongside that, please do not forget, we also have the pre-conference MCPs as well. And would get the dates to you, and that's usually a couple of days before the actual conference starts. So we look forward to welcoming you to Abuja again amongst about 4,000 physical delegates and about 1,000 virtual delegates. So we look forward to you being part of that. And thank you very much. At this point, I would like to call on the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obejisi, FCIPM, to please give the vote of thanks. Madam Vice President. We can't hear you, ma'am. Are you unmuted? We can't hear you, ma'am. Okay. Madam VP, if you're not on yet, I would ask that Mrs. Ogochukwu Egbono, National Treasurer, gives the closing remarks and we'll come back to the vote of thanks. Or you can do both, Madam National Treasurer. Thank you very much. Madam VP, are you back?
Okay, good evening. Are you hearing me?
Okay, yes. Madam National Treasurer, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm just standing in for the Vice President and she's not able to do this at the moment. I believe that should be a network issue. And sincerely, what I would like to share with us this evening, it's been a very interesting conversation. Having women from CIPM gathered together to come and share thoughts on how we can move forward and what we can do so that we don't just become women that we're talking about, we are left behind, or maybe the pace at which the men are moving is not the same pace that we are moving. I think it's been a very thought-provoking session for us this evening, seeing different aspects of where we are and where we can do. So what it means to me is that the room for improvement is there for every woman, no matter the stage at which you are now. You can get to the top. You can do that thing. You can become that thing that you desire to be. And the one word I will leave here with us is been a word that has resonated so much on us throughout the whole speakers that spoke this evening. And what is that word? Focus. Do you have a focus, a vision of where you are going to? Yes. Are there going to be distractions on your way getting to that? Yes. But then the focus should be the propelling factor. On that note, I sincerely want to thank everyone that have actually made this particular year, International Women's Day, successful for us. To all our panelists, starting from our guest speaker, thank you so much, madam. You did very well. We appreciate you. Thank you, all the guest speakers, the panelists that took the session. You did very well. You answered all the questions. And I'm sure there's no woman that is here that we go back this evening and say that we are not fulfilled. And sincerely, we want to thank our male folks that joined us, because I actually know this session is just for the women. Our male folks have also joined us so that they can also know how better to handle us in the workplace, how to also give us breathing space. And when they see us coming, so that it wouldn't be that these ones are so emotional, but rather they will not see us from the emotional side, but they will see us with people that have been properly equipped to do what is right and to do it at that right time. Thank you, our HQ team, ably led by our registrar, Ms. Uto Inaiwo, FCIPM, and every member of your team for putting this together, and for every participant that actually joined today. Thank you so much. We could have called this meeting, and if you didn't join, it would not have been a successful time. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And this is coming from the president and the chairman of the governing council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobri, FCIPM. Thank you so much, our president, for this opportunity given to us, we women, to express ourselves. So we're also looking forward to where we are going to have International Men's Day. On that note, please enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam National Treasurer. At this point, would like you to please all rise, if it's safe for you to do so, as we take the last stanza of the national anthem as a closing prayer. Thank you, everyone. Nigeria indeed shall be blessed. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy International Women's Day and month. Go women. Thank you, everyone.
Go, everyone.
Our panelists online, thank you, Bukola. Thank you, Mrs. Adeni. We
Thank you.
appreciate
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
President, are you saying something?
I was simply saying thank you to all.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
My dear President. Thank you for the great opportunity, my CE and others. Thank you, great panelists. You were inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. You kept us on the straight and narrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Find the timeliness, the time.